Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sham's Story Time. Today, we are going to see the next episode of King Vikramaditya series. Are you all ready to listen? Today's story is called The Great Thief. So, it happened that Pesa Madandai princess has already spoken 2 times in that night. So, King Vikramaditya wanted to make her speak once more so that he can get married to her. Vetala started by narrating this story. Back in the great thief's home, he called his third son. He's the three-fourths thief. He told him the same thing. I want you to show your prowess in the act of robbing. Do something. So the three-fourths thief came to town. He went around. He inquired about everything that happened. He got to know that the minister is given the job of finding out who is the thief of the last 2 days' robbery. He also found out that the minister had a wife at home and he returns at home generally around midnight. So, this three-fourth thief was a very, very intelligent fellow. He looked at the minister hiding from behind a tree and found out how he looked. Immediately, he went to a drama store. He brought robes that exactly looked like the ones that the minister wore, and then the same kind of turban and everything. He dressed himself up like the minister. And when, remember, I told you the minister has the habit of coming back home only at midnight. His wife was surprised. How come you're home early? Then the minister told her, look here, I suspect that the thief is going to visit us at midnight. That's why I came earlier to warn you. He told her. She said, oh, fine, let me see what to do. I will stay outside of the home. You be inside. Keep the door locked. Only when I knock, you have to open the door. Saying so, the three-fourths thief was waiting outside the minister's house. The minister came back home around midnight. Immediately, three-fourths thief caught him, bound him. He stuffed a cloth in his mouth so he cannot scream or make noise, and he bound him to a pillar. He even covered his face with a turban. And then he went and knocked the door. Minister's wife opened and asked, what do you want? I want some water. I have tied the thief to the pillar. I need some water to drink. She went inside and looked around. There was no water. She said, come to the well. I'll fetch some water for you. She took him to the well. Immediately, he bound the minister's wife also to the well, stuffed cloth in her mouth. He ran inside the house, picked up whatever he could. He emptied the entire house. Lots and lots of valuables, gold and jewelry, coins. It was a minister's house, you can imagine, right? He picked up everything, packed all of them in 2 big boxes, went back home and gave it to his father. His father was so happy. Back here the next morning, they found out that the minister's house has been robbed. The minister is tied to a pillar outside of his house, and his wife was tied to the well. And this was a shameful act for the king. When this news reached the king, he was aghast. He hung his face down. And this time he said, I am going to find out who is the thief myself. So the king came out and he started to find out the details of the last 3 days' robbery. Back in the great thief's house, he called his fourth son. He's the full thief. He called him and said, look here, I want you to show your prowess in the act of robbing. Go do something and let me. Full thief came to town. He inquired and found out all the details of the last 3 days' robbery. And now he also knows that the king himself is on the search for the thief. He decided he would go to the edge of the forest and have a small stall like a shop selling a few things and lay there in wait. The king also got to know that somewhere in the forest there is a sense of these robbers walking around. So the king came to the edge of the forest and out of nowhere there was a shop. There was an old shopkeeper. He was actually the full thief there. The king came and inquired, do you know anything about the robbers in our town? Full thief said, yes, I do know. They have been crossing this path last 3 days. And it is expected that he will come here today as well. You can lay in wait and he will come. They waited and waited. Of course, nobody came. Then the shopkeeper told the king, I guess it is because you are here that he is not coming. Otherwise, last 3 days, every day the thief actually came to my shop. So what you do, you remove all your robes so you will not look like a royal king. So remove all your robes. I'll give you some small rags of mine. You wear that and maybe you can get into this small sack. And he showed him a gunny bag. Go inside this bag. I will tie it slightly. When the thief comes, you can come out of the bag and catch him. The king agreed to it. He removed all his royal robes, put them aside. He picked up the simple clothes that the shopkeeper gave. He wore it, and as was suggested by the shopkeeper, the king went into the gunny bag. The bag was tied very tight by the shopkeeper. The king is sort of arrested. There was the king's horse standing. The shopkeeper put on all of the king's robes, and then he gave a signal to all the king's men that were waiting. He whistled. All the men came, and in a hurry they thought this was actually the king who was wearing the king's robes. He said, "You see, the thief is there in this gunny bag. Take him and put him in the palace dungeon." So they grabbed this man who was in the gunny bag, who was actually the king. They went back and put him in the palace dungeon. Now all of king's robes was there for full thief, lots and lots of jewelry of the king, and there was the king's horse standing. He got on top of the horse, galloped his way to his father, and he shared the full story of what he did that day. Great thief was very happy. He called all his 4 sons and said, "You're all doing great in the act of robbing." Now the screen stopped the story here and asked King Vikramaditya, who are the clever people in the story? King Vikramaditya looked at Pesa Madandai, smiled and said, "Of course, the clever people in the story are the barber, the cloth merchant, the minister, the inspector general, and the king." Immediately, Pesa Madandai interrupted and said, "Of course not. It is the great thief and his 4 sons, quarter thief, half thief, 3/4 thief, and full thief, who are the smartest people I have seen." And then she bit her tongue. She has spoken for the 3rd time, is it not? King Vikramaditya clapped and said, "And here you go, Princess Pesa Madandai, you have spoken 3 times. Immediately all her maidens, her mother, Queen Amritavarshini, all of them came and surrounded them. King Vikramaditya told them all who he was actually, not just a common man, but King Vikramaditya. So a grand wedding was conducted for the king and Princess Pesa Madandai. Both of them walked out. They went straight to Argapuri, and there was Gunapati, King Vikramaditya's other wife, whom he had married recently. So the king took both his wives and came back to his kingdom of Ujjain. You must remember, this story is being narrated by the puppet in the 5th step to King Vikramaditya's throne, whose name was Mantra Manonmani. Now, King Bhojaraja listened to this story. By then it was dusk. He retired to his chamber. He decided he would come there the next morning, climb the throne to King Vikramaditya. That's the end of today's episode. Did you all like today's story? If you did, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sham Story Time. You will have access to all the stories that I upload. Every Saturday, you get to hear a story of King Vikramaditya in English, and on Sundays, there is a story of Panchatantra in Tamil for you. All of them you can hear from the comfort of your mobile phone. My name is Shamala, and I'm a passionate storyteller. I will meet you in the next episode. Bye-bye.